Okay, gents, let's now switch focus and talk about Christian Pulisic. He's been linked with Newcastle United, the USMNT star. There's a lot of talks about should he leave Chelsea? Would this move to Newcastle or another Premier League team perhaps be a good one? So to round up the reports, the Athletics say that Pulisic is on a list of Chelsea players that Newcastle have been watching. The likes of Conor Gallagher, Hudson-Odoi, Armando Broja have also been linked with Newcastle. And the Telegraph have taken it to the next level in their report, saying that Newcastle have even asked about a loan, and some of the Newcastle hierarchy there were at Stamford Bridge for Chelsea's 2-2 draw with Tottenham to potentially discuss these kind of deals. So when we look at it, Andy Edwards, I'm going to come to you first. Chelsea have signed Raheem Sterling over the summer. They're chasing Anthony Gordon from Everton and spending potentially a lot of money on him, who's also a left winger where Pulisic plays. Pulisic's had limited minutes so far, first 2 games. So what should he do? I mean, stacking all that up there, it's kind of making a case, right, that he should leave Chelsea, but we all know probably isn't as easy as that for Pulisic and probably for Chelsea as well. They probably want to keep him around to have someone of his quality to call upon if injuries do pop up. So it's a difficult decision for both.
Yeah, on one hand, it doesn't feel like the situation of the decision has changed much since, a month ago or so when we last kind of talked about this. But then the season starts and a couple games are played, and it becomes very clear just how much he's not in the first 11 for Thomas Tuchel, and how far down maybe the pecking order he might also be. I think the fact that there obviously are 5 subs this season is going to help. I think that's going to mean he's going to get opportunities to impress as a substitute to begin with. Now, if he can take those opportunities and do something with it, I think he will make a strong case for more minutes in the starting lineup. We've also not gotten to the point where any of the domestic cups or the Champions League are in play either. And so once those come into play, he might not play Champions League, but he'll play the ensuing Premier League game on the Saturday or Sunday. And he will have opportunities at Chelsea. He won't have obviously as many opportunities as if he went to Newcastle, where he could maybe potentially be the guy. I still feel like uprooting his entire situation, what's familiar to him, his daily routine, his life at this time, just 4 months before the World Cup, is probably not the right time to do it. I think there is strong potential for a move like this to happen in January after the World Cup is done and after everybody has returned. And that is no longer what everybody is eyeing and playing for at that time. I do think he leaves in January, whether it's on loan or permanently, just for the fact he'll be down to the final 18 months of his contract. But at this time, I think he still stays at Chelsea. But Newcastle is I don't know, it's an interesting prospect that we've not really discussed, I don't think, too much, because we've talked about a lot of other clubs at maybe a similar level or much higher levels in Europe. Newcastle, obviously a step down in the prestige, but it does kind of feel like it might be a pretty decent fit in terms of what that squad needs and the importance that I think he needs to not only have, but I think that he needs to feel important wherever he goes next, because he's not had that feeling pretty much the whole time he's been at Chelsea. And I think we knew that was going to be the case. I think maybe he thought he could force that to happen, that he could force his way to become the guy. It's just not worked out, but Newcastle might be the right place to do it.
Before we go to our resident Newcastle expert, Nick Mendola, I just want to point out some of the other reports out there. The Guardian had a report last week saying that Thomas Tuchel doesn't trust Christian Pulisic enough. And he's been there 3 years now at Chelsea, like you mentioned, Andy. He's never really felt like he's the go-to guy, even with the great performances in the run to win the Champions League under Thomas Tuchel. FA Cup final display where he got injured and some of the other big performances against Liverpool that he's had. So he has done it in fits and starts. It's difficult, like you said, to see how he fits into the system with Sterling being there, with Mount and Havertz clearly being prioritized in that front three. And it worked pretty well, apart from some of the missed chances for Havertz and Sterling against Tottenham recently. But you wouldn't say that finishing off chances has necessarily been one of Pulisic's strong points since he's been at Chelsea either. He has had opportunities. It's not like he hasn't been given these chances to impress. So, Nick, bringing you in, because we talked about, Andy mentioned it, some of the big European teams that are maybe chasing him, Juve, there's talks of Barca, even in the Premier League linked to Liverpool, Man United in the past. But now that it is, no disrespect to Newcastle, but a team that's not playing in Europe, a step down the ladder from Chelsea, what do you think, tactically, Eddie Howe's system, the players Newcastle already have with St. Max and Almiron? I mean, Pulisic goes there, to me, starting week in, week out. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think they're going to bring him in unless he's going to get the chance to fail, right? Or succeed for that matter. I'll tell you what, I look at him and you guys kind of laughed at me and I understand why, and it still feels silly to say it, but I said over the summer, like, what if he went to Fulham and was just the man for a year? That was a joke. But Everton, Newcastle, these groups that could use a guy to be the man for a while. And I'm a little bit surprised, and I wonder what the advanced stats. I know there's a betting in period needed. Why aren't we seeing the discussion of more 6 months loans with the World Cup coming up? Why aren't we seeing guys get a chance to show their stuff and then enter the January market instead of going on a full year loan? Newcastle, he's a fit. The problem is, I think it gives them tremendous depth. To have him and St. Matt, like you'd have one side where Kieran Trippier is spraying the ball to Pulisic. The other side of the field is Matt Target, who's proven to be an excellent crosser. What a great name for that, by the way. And then have Pulisic. It's really good that way. But I also look at it and say, I don't know if that's what Newcastle needs depth. I don't know that they need to take on loan a guy who the parent club is going to expect to play all the time. And I keep going back to Everton for this. I just think he's a good fit with Lampard still there, with a team in dire need of a go-to guy. And that's the one thing we've seen with the USA that we haven't seen with Chelsea, that we thought maybe we'd see when they gave him the number 10 shirt after Hazard left, is him being the man somewhere. He is great as the man for the United States of America. And to see him somewhere, he won't be the man at Newcastle. He could work his way into that, but he could show up at Everton and be the man under a manager who knows him. And I still think that makes more sense than Newcastle.
I agree with you. I actually agree with you on that, especially if Chelsea are trying to buy Anthony Gordon. I mean, why not just throw Pulisic into the mix either permanently or on the loan deal? I think he probably would want a loan deal, right? See how it goes, see how the World Cup goes. And there's that prestige of playing for Chelsea, even if you're a loanee. You're at Champions League level. You're at a team in the top four. I don't think he's going to leave anywhere permanently this window. Maybe even not the next. I don't know, because then you're in a much better position if you've only got a year left on your contract to negotiate a move away. But I do like the Everton move, Nick, because of Frank Lampard. It took him a while, but speaking to him a lot during his time at Chelsea as manager, he really does like Christian Pulisic, and he's spoken about him highly over the summer as well. So Andy's dying to get in on this point here, so come on.
Everton? Really, guys? What's the difference other than a few $100 million of debt? What's the difference between Manchester United and Everton right now? There is no difference.
He's got to play before a World Cup. He's got to play.
Sure,
Oh.
but
Okay.
I'm thinking about the environment that exists at those clubs right now. I'm not even talking about who's in charge or who the players are or what the squad importance will be. I'm thinking about the chaos that exists at both of those clubs. And is that where we want to send Christian Pulisic to, hey man, go figure it out? Frank Lampard is there every day. Hey man, trying to figure it out. We want to send Pulisic to also that does. Newcastle's the stable situation, Nick. Like Newcastle is actually a manager who we actually believe is going to be there through the season. And they are the way they've approached this transfer window, not just throwing out millions and millions and millions the way that everybody thought they were, makes you feel like, all right, there really is a plan in place for what Newcastle are trying to do. And that's the kind of place that I want Pulisic to go.
Yeah. And that's the point, I guess, to get back to Newcastle. And Joe, I did you a disservice when you asked me this question. I think if you take the list of Chelsea guys who could go on loan, and you really give Newcastle the opportunity to choose one, I think Pulisic is probably third or fourth. They'd rather have Broja to mix him in with Callum Wilson. They might rather have Callum Hudson-Odoi. I don't think so, but they definitely would rather have Conor Gallagher after they saw what he did for Crystal Palace last year. Nothing against Pulisic. Again, I think he's fantastic, but I just don't think he would be their priority if they're given the option of whoever they want to take from Chelsea.
You know what the issue here is that I think, and it's disappointing for me to say this, but I don't think Chelsea have got any decent offers for Pulisic so far this summer. There's been reports and talks and a few links, but no one's actually come in and said, you know what, we will give you the 45 to 50 million pounds that you want for this player, because I think a lot of teams look at his injury record and his output since he's been at Chelsea the last few years. For whatever reason, you can blame the manager, the system under Tuchel, the 3-4-2-1, narrow wingers, doesn't really suit him that well. You can blame all that, but when it comes down to it, I don't think there's a huge market for him right now for the price that Chelsea are asking. So a loan move seems the most sensible option for him and for Chelsea. But final point in this, have we changed our mind then? Because when we spoke last about this over the summer, it was a couple of months ago, we kind of said it might not be the worst thing in the world for Pulisic to not play much at Chelsea, be a bit hungry, be a bit angry about the situation, and be rested going into the World Cup in November, which, by the way, is 3 months away. The World Cup starts in 3 months. So have we changed our mind? Do we think he should stay or do we think he should go? The Clash song again. I feel like I'm quoting this every single episode. But Andy, go ahead.
He should stay, but we're grasping at straws now, hoping for something like, well, he won't play. He'll be fit to be a positive spin. Like, there is no good outcome, I think, at this point. I think the best outcome was probably very similar to Ronaldo, very beginning of the transfer window. Move on, find the next place that really wants you. But to your point, Joe, that place doesn't exist at the valuation that Chelsea have placed on him. And, you know, maybe that's their fault. He'll certainly become a lot cheaper in the next 6 and 12 months when his contract begins to wind down.
Ask me when I've seen the Champions League group draw, because I will get to this maybe even on today's show. I think Chelsea's pretty good. I think I totally overlooked some of the things about them after watching that Tottenham game. And again, I know that there are skeletons in the closet of that rivalry, but you could argue that that game could go 3-1 another day. I really, really like Chelsea's control over a Tottenham team that I think is very, very good. And I'm at the point where I'm excited to see what Chelsea looks like at the next test for them. Because again, if the Champions League group is weaker, then Pulisic's going to play plenty. But I also look at Raheem Sterling as a player who misses 5, 6, 7 games a year, whether through rotation or injury. He gets fouled a lot, just like Christian Pulisic. I think Pulisic could serve as a perfect sort of Sterling foil. And as Kai Havertz misses big chances, you know Thomas Tuchel's going to look down the bench. And depending on who they bring in, I'll tell you what, just sorry, Everton fans, if they bring in Anthony Gordon, I don't think he'll beat out Christian Pulisic other than for his price tag. So, you know, that's part of it.
It's really interesting. Now it's all about, what does Christian Pulisic want? Is he going to be pushing for a loan move? What do Chelsea want? Are they going to be saying, we're going to keep you around just as a squad player and you've got to be happy with that? And then it's about what do the likes of Newcastle or other teams actually want to do? What are they willing to put on the table? So interesting times in the last 2 weeks of the transfer window for Christian Pulisic. And we will keep you updated on Pro Soccer Talk and NBCSports.com with the latest USMNT news. We'll have weekly updates on how they're doing in the Premier League around Europe. Nick will be updating his player pool rankings as well, as all eyes and focus are just shifting a little bit closer now towards the World Cup in Qatar in 3 months' time. And obviously, Christian Pulisic is going to be the main man for the USA there. So he needs to figure out the situation one way or another. And we're all pretty eager to see what happens. And we want the best for him. Of course we do. He's a wonderful talent. But it seems like he's not going to get the minutes he wants at Chelsea. So now it's over to you, Christian. What do you want to do? I'm really excited to see where this goes because this is a big, big moment, not just this season, but I think in his entire career to see where he goes now. So let's wait and see.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.